Hello, welcome back. Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Militado ML13. I bought this watch with my own money from the Militado watch website and it cost me £37 including shipping. This was with an early bird discount, which there still is but is slightly reduced. Before we start, as usual, I'll do a quick wristwatch check. Today I'm wearing a vintage Enacar. I got this from eBay for really cheap. There wasn't a whole lot of packaging with this watch. It came in a small outer box and this was what was inside. I can't show the outer box because it's covered in my address. I think I prefer these kind of tins to the actual watch boxes. They're usually really cheap and the hinges break. However, the warranty card doesn't even fit inside the tin. As you'll shortly see, this watch is a quite obvious homage to the IWC Mark 11, and they didn't really try to hide that fact anyway. I'm quite glad that some of these Chinese brands are actually making some of these vintage-inspired military watches, as there's not really many options for these outside of heritage brands like Longines, and I know Smiths make a watch like this, but it doesn't really look that good to me. There's 4 different configurations for this watch. 2 of them are different movements, and then 2 are different dials. There's the option that I went for with the white numerals, and there's another dial option with faux tenoed loom, which I don't really like. And then there's 2 different choices of movement. One is with the Super 25 movement, which I chose, and then the other is with the sweeping quartz hand. I chose the Super 25 as the watch is slightly thinner and I don't really care about the sweeping quartz hand. The watch has a diameter of 36mm, a thickness of 8.8mm, that's what I measured, is slightly thinner than what's advertised on the site, a lug to lug of 45mm, a lug width of 20mm and weight of 31.4 grams. The website doesn't actually specify what the case material is. I can tell it's steel, but I'm not sure what kind. The movement used is a Militado Super 2035. The crystal is K1 glass with a clear AR coating. The watch has a 100 water resistance with a screw down case back and crown, and the loom is either C3 green or BGW blue depending on which dial option you go for. Here's a look at the movement. It's a Militado Super 2035. It's a 0 dual movement with an accuracy of plus or minus 20 seconds per month and a 4-year battery life. If I'm being honest, I don't know what makes this movement so super. I think it just has a slightly longer battery life and slightly higher torque, but the accuracy definitely isn't anything to write home about. As for the strap, it's just a cheap NATO strap. It's got matching hardware, but these are never my style, so the first thing I did was take it off, and I replaced it with this cheap leather strap. I think it looks a lot better on the leather, and in my opinion is just more comfortable. The dial is almost identical to the IWC. The numerals and markers are all the same, however just the text on the dial is different. Obviously this has Militado watch instead of International Watch Company, and the arrow is underneath the hands instead of above it. On the IWC there was a T for tritium, but this obviously doesn't use tritium, so they didn't include it, and there's no Swiss made at the bottom of the dial. I did see something online about this watch with like a collaboration dial with a Korean YouTuber, which did have the T on the dial, but I'm not really too sure about that. The print quality on the dial is quite crisp, and I really do like how small everything is, how small and thin the numerals and markers are. It really complements the size of this watch. The hands on this watch are kind of a mix between a baton and syringe style. It's quite common for a lot of the military watches at the time, I think. The hands are polished and filled with loom, and the second hand is very thin and painted white. I really like the second hand on this watch, and thankfully on mine it does seem to hit the markers. There's not much to say about the case finishing, as every surface is brushed. I think the finishing is really good, and definitely fits with the military theme. I love the thin downturn lugs of the watch, which keeps the lug to lug short and just helps with the overall wearability, and I also like the drilled lug holes. The case back is radially brushed and has the Militado name engraved in and the movement etched down towards the bottom. The crown is 5.3mm wide and is also screw down. You won't be touching the crown much on a quartz watch, but it does feel nice to screw down. This is what the loom looks like going from underneath a bright studio light to darkness, and I'll also give it a blast with the UV light so you can see it fully charged. I'm not really a big loom guy as I'm usually places where there's lights. However, the lume does look pretty good on this watch. I like the blue colour. It does fade quickly, but most lume does. Here's the watch on my 6.5-inch wrist, and I think you can see from this, but my favourite thing about the watch is just how it wears on the wrist. The watch is light, thin, and just stays out of the way, and overall is very comfortable. That's going to be all for this one. I figured I'd try and keep it short. My overall thoughts of the watch are, I actually really like it. It's definitely my favourite AliExpress watch so far, and as long as the crystal doesn't explode, as I've been seeing online, I'll probably be getting a lot of use out of this watch. You can probably tell from these videos that I'm not good at making videos, and I also really do not like speaking in a microphone. However, thank you for watching. I'm still going to be doing a giveaway at 50 subscribers, and even though I hope it's obvious by now, I'm clearly not affiliated with any of these watch brands. I've been buying them with my own money, which is why I've been buying cheaper watches. If there's anything I missed in this video, or you have any questions about the watch, please just leave a comment and I'll try to answer as best as I can. And also I've been thinking about showing vintage watches on the channel, as mostly I do collect vintage watches, not new watches. So just let me know what you think about that, if you even care. But I'll leave it on that. Goodbye.